Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Vegans Who Lift podcast. I'm John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan, and as always, I am joined by Brooke Sellers, aka Miss Meatless Muscle. And today we've got a lot of great content in store for you guys. Brooke, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Extremely overwhelmed and like about to blow up internally, but it's okay. We'll live. Allie's like, I can tell you're stressed, and I'm like, oh really? I feel like a crackhead right now, but we got a lot of a lot of moving parts. So we got the podcast today, which is awesome. And I realize I talk a lot, so I'm just going to talk a lot. And then this weekend we're driving to Miami to get content, and then also run the Vegan Foodie Fest. So by the time this comes out, the Vegan Foodie Fest will have been a huge success, the best vegan event Miami's ever seen. I'm going to be there with Sean, Vegans Explore, Diego from the Florida Marketplace Group is helping us run it too. So it's going to be a lot. And then we get to drive back to Lakeland, and in like 12 days we're driving to Arizona. So like Allie's behind me right
Wow.
now, cleaning out the back patio and organizing all the stuff, and we're like starting to put things in boxes and take it over to storage. And I like to have all my stuff. I'm already in her place, and most of my stuff's in storage. Now we're putting her stuff in storage, and so I'm just like, we'll figure it out as we go. Luckily, our Airbnb looks nice in Arizona and has like kitchen stuff and all the good things that you need to be a bodybuilding vegan. So I'm not super worried about once we get there. It's a if you don't stop, it's like a 32-hour drive, so that's a bit of a drive. But yes, that's where my brain is at in like 15 different places. But how about you?
Wow, that's crazy. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I mean, I guess I'm always I mean, I feel like I'm always overwhelmed, slightly overwhelmed and anxious working on it, but yeah, things are good. I launched my cookbook. My cookbook is now officially available for download. We're working on getting the physical copies printed as we speak. So that was really exciting. Yeah.
People need to go where? Your link tree, your link in your bio, your website. Where do they go?
Yeah, you can go to my Instagram. Okay, so a lot of people have been going on my website and filling out a coaching application. I can't even tell you how many coaching applications I've gotten, and then I follow up with people and they were like, I was trying to buy the cookbook. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how people are getting confused on that, but anyways, you can go to my Instagram and I have both links in my profile, and one says cookbook, one says apply to work with me. Pick the one that says cookbook, and that's how you can download the cookbook.
Or you can apply to work with her and get the
Yeah,
cookbook. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, but I mean, like, I have probably gotten like 40 coaching applications, like, not even kidding. And it's like all people who are wanting to buy the cookbook. So, yeah, it's been a little bit confusing. Um, but hopefully you guys can find the right place.
I found the cookbook, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was like the day it came out, so it's been a minute. But yeah, awesome, 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 awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today's episode, I don't know if we're going to call it shooting the shit, but that's what it's going to be. It's been a minute since we've just caught up. We do so much off air, and also sometimes it still feels like we never talk. Like we're running the academy, it's starting up here in a couple weeks. Obviously, with the podcast, we're always scheming about other different things, but it's nice to actually just slow down and catch up. I was going to ask to delve a little bit more into the anxiety talk that you had brought up earlier. What are you doing to manage, and what might I be able to steal from you?
Yeah, I've just come to a place in my life where I've accepted that this is just going to be something that I have to manage for the rest of my life. Like, it's just part of who I am until it's not. I mean, maybe one day I won't be that person, but I feel like it's just how I am. Like, my brother has a diagnosed anxiety disorder, and my mom really should have a diagnosed anxiety disorder. She just, won't see a psychiatrist. So I feel like it just runs in my family. And then I've also, had some trauma in my life, which has dysregulated my nervous system. So I have recognized that I'm easily rattled by things. Like, even like something goes wrong with my car, like my car won't crank, and it's like I freak out, like it's the end of the world. And it takes me like talking to myself to like calm myself down, you know. So I've just realized that it's just like anxiety is just something that I'm gonna have to manage. So things that work for me, I would say breath work is really helpful. Focusing on my breathing. I know people love meditation. It's just it doesn't really work for me. Like I've tried it. I just find it makes me it makes me frustrated with myself because I'll just like I'll constantly be thinking about other things. And I know you're not supposed to think. You're just supposed to sit there and sit in the present moment. So I just get frustrated when I try to meditate. So it defeats the whole purpose of meditating. But breath work, it gives me something to focus on. If I can focus on my breath, that actually really helps me. And I found some guided meditations, some guided breath works on YouTube that I really like. And just other things like I really make it a point to get sunshine every single day for at least 15 minutes. I feel like that makes a huge difference. Like, and if it's a cloudy day, you know, it is what it is. But if the sun is shining, I'm going to get outside for at least 15 minutes and get the sun on my face and my body. And I feel like that makes a big difference. I walk my dog every single day. I always feel better after I walk my dog. Um, and I mean, I do self medicate with marijuana, but I do feel like that really helps me, truthfully. I also supplement just with natural stuff like ashwagandha, maca root. I don't know if that makes a huge difference, but maybe physiologically, it's like combating some of that cortisol that I have. And actually, just recently, I got an acupressure mat and I got off Amazon and that shit is awesome. Like I feel so chill and relaxed after I've been on it for like 15 or 20 minutes and it hurts like hell like the first 5 minutes. It literally feels like needles going in your back. But seriously, it really works. Like it really makes you chill out. And it's also really improved my back pain as well. Like I was shocked. I was really skeptical about this thing, but it had amazing reviews. So I was just like, I'll try it, like whatever. And it works. Yeah.
What? So it's like a yoga mat with needles in it.
It's like a yoga mat and it's got these like little plastic spikes. I'm looking over at it. And so, yeah, so you lay on it and you can either do it with clothes or without clothes. Obviously, if you do it without clothes, it's like way more intense. And at first, it's pretty intense, but eventually you kind of get used to it. And like once you chill out and relax, it's really helpful. And you're kind of like you feel a little bit like tingly after, but it's awesome. You should try it. You should get one because they're cheap.
You've intrigued me. I want to try this. I have like a little right now. I'm standing at my desk and I have a ball that I've been using to roll on the bottoms of my feet because I did like single leg press on the machine the other day with 9 plates and I was happy with that. That's the most I've ever done in my life. But now my foot's been sore for like a week and I'm like, maybe it was that. Maybe it was the 28,000 steps I walked the day before that. I don't know. It's one of the two. But anyways, that sounds similar to kind of like the pressure point release thing. And my back has been sore from lifting. I'm officially the biggest and strongest I've ever been. I'm like 256 pounds this morning, lifting more weight on every exercise than I've ever done before. So that's fun, but also I'm like constantly sore. So I think that could be a good addition. And I imagine it would do two things at once. Like you probably can't be comfortably on your phone or like doing other things while that's, I would imagine. Like, so it would kind of just
Yeah.
force you to be present through it and breathe through it.
Yep.
I did want to hit on the marijuana usage. Shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kind of the same way. Like, I feel like marijuana makes me really tired. But then again, I only pretty much ever smoke late at night after I've worked 12 hours and trained and eaten. So I'm already tired anyways. But I do feel like my anxiety levels just drop.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like an artificial drop. I don't know. It's almost like I just don't care. It's like normally I'll have 500 notifications on Instagram and 50 client messages on WhatsApp, and I'm like starting to freak out. And if I'm high, I'm like, meh, I don't care.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Like, I feel like if I was somebody that, like, I don't know, picked apples, that'd be a great place to get high, because then you just like go do this task that you don't really have to think about. But I can't really work while I'm high, so I don't know. I will say I do like psychedelics. I feel like for whatever reason, those help with my anxiety. Um, I think they allow me like a different perspective on the world, and sometimes like whereas when I'm high, it's like I just don't care, and where it's like if I'm using psychedelics like LSD or mushrooms, it's almost like I see it from a different perspective. Like, yes, this feels like a big problem right now, but really you can handle this. You know how to do it, and in the grand scope of things, these 15 messages aren't gonna end your world. Like, you'll be okay. So, not that I'm saying everybody else should run out and smoke weed and use hallucinogens, but those have been some things that I think Band-Aid and then bigger picture help with my anxiety. I think some of it is just the nature of you and I, like how we live. Like, we're in the public spotlight a lot. A lot of people have ways to reach out to us, and it can just get overwhelming if I'm being fully honest.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's like there's always something to do. Like you're never really done, you know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like when I worked a 9 to 5 and I worked for somebody else, when I clocked out, I was clocked out. I was done. I was not thinking about what I needed to do tomorrow. It didn't matter and I was done for the day. But it's like even now when I clock out, and I'm done working for the day, I have a hard time shutting my brain off because I keep thinking about, oh my God, well, I got to do this. I got to message this person tomorrow. And what if this doesn't happen? It like my brain just keeps going. And that's why I really like marijuana because I feel like it slows my brain down. So it's instead of like, I feel like in like 30 seconds, I have like a million thoughts. And when I'm high or stoned, I feel like it just slows me way down. And I don't think about what if this doesn't happen in like the million. Do you like Marvel? Do you like Marvel movies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you seen the Avengers where Doctor Strange, he's like computing all of the different outcomes of what could happen and like there's only one and it's like where Tony Stark dies and saves everybody. But there's like 4 million
Spoiler.
possibilities of like yeah, what could happen. And so I feel like that's me. Like I have one situation and it's like I think of like the 4 million possibilities of like what could go wrong, like what could happen, how this person interpreted this situation. And I don't know, when I'm stoned, I just feel like I just see it for what it is. I take it for what it is. Whatever happens, happens. Like I feel like it's just I don't know, like I feel normal. It's just I don't know. It's just a weird way to explain it, but I just feel like it slows my brain down. But I'm like you. I wait until I'm done working and it's nighttime and it's time to wind down before I smoke. And I mean, to be honest, I've thought about medication and I did try a medication. I think it's buspirine, something like that. I don't know. But my doctor put me on it and it was like you took it morning and night. To be honest, I didn't really notice much of a difference, so I didn't want to just take something to take something. So I just stopped taking it. Maybe I didn't give it long enough, but I feel like there's always caveats to medication as well, and I don't really, I don't know. Like I'm not 100% sold on pharmaceutical drugs and they all have side effects. I mean, even marijuana has side effects, right? I mean, obviously like makes you hungry, definitely gives me the munchies, which is like a big problem for me right now. I'm like, "Oh my God, I have to stop." Like I'm
Yeah,
like
yeah,
food obsessed.
can relate with that. Allie bought those what are they called? The crisp power, the protein pretzels that you were promoting.
Oh, yes.
She she got impatient. Like, the original like 3-pack didn't arrive, so she went and ordered like 6 boxes on Amazon because it was gonna get here like that night. And so now we just got this giant box of these protein pretzels sitting in the room, and I'll finish my prepped meal and I'll be like, huh, I'm a little snacky. I guess a protein pretzel is not the worst thing in the world. And then she tells me this morning, she's like, yeah, you went to sleep well, I was up to 1:30 last night snacking. I was eating mandarins and protein pretzels and all that. I'm like, yep, we're both
Yeah.
we're bulking. So I'm coaching her, and I'm like, well, that'll just be a little slight extra surplus this week. Yeah, yeah, it does help with that. If you're trying to gain weight, I feel like it makes like the flavor fatigue with food just go away. It's like you just don't get tired of eating, at least for me.
Yeah.
Definitely needed it for that green bites challenge the other day. Um, yeah. All right. Well, so we've talked about anxiety. No, oh yeah, the first time I like really smoked like 2 years ago, that was like when it hit me like a truck. I'm like, oh, I have anxiety. Because like right now while I'm high, I do not have anxiety, but like I didn't know that I could feel like this. I
Yeah.
definitely carry around this cloud of a lot. But I try to
Wait,
check
that was
myself
the first time you smoked was 2 years ago?
more or less. Like I smoked on
Okay.
my 19th birthday and I tried it like 5 times, and I was like, alcohol is so much more fun because I can get drunk and stupid and get on tables and take my clothes off and be ridiculous. And then I smoked weed, and I'm like, I just want to sit on this couch right now. And I thought it was silly because like it's like 2 in the afternoon. I'm like, I like to work out, I like to go do stuff, and like now I'm just like stuck on a couch. So I tried it a few more times, and I was like, I guess I'm just broken. Like weed does not work for me. It just makes me tired, and I think it still makes me tired, but and now like we just discussed, I use it at night. But yeah, the first time I had smoked like in a decade was like 2 years ago, and I just had this like overwhelming feeling of not feeling overwhelmed, and I was like, "Ha, this is interesting. This is a different way to live." So I
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes if I'm addicted or not. Like last night, I didn't really want to smoke, but Allie had it just sitting there, so I was like, "Meh, I'll I'll do a little bit." But like more often than not, I do smoke at night now, so something to consider.
I don't know. I feel like if you had that feeling like, I could take it, I could not take it, I feel like you're probably not addicted then. Like if you were just doing it because she had it there and she was smoking, I feel like you're probably not. I feel like if you were like, freaking out and you needed it
Yeah.
and you didn't have it, that would be different. But yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I started smoking when I was, God, 16. I was in high school. And it was probably the most like druggy, sketchy thing ever. Like some boys in my high school picked me up and we smoked in his minivan out of a Gatorade bottle that they made. And it was like so freaking sketchy. And also, like, it was like all these people, and I had no idea what I was doing because it was my first time. So, like, I had the, pipe and I blew into it rather than, sucking the smoke out of it. So, like, all of the weed came out and went everywhere, and everybody was so mad. They're like, who brought this chick, dude? Like, what the hell? And everybody was so mad, and I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, I am so sorry. Like, I'm not a drug addict, so I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, and I was so freaking stoned, and I had to go back home because like obviously it's a school night, and like I'm not gonna go. I didn't have anywhere to stay, and I was like freaking out because I was so stoned, and I'm like, my parents are gonna know I'm stoned. Oh my god! And they're like, it's okay, just go upstairs, take a shower. Like if you take a shower, you won't be high anymore. And so I'm like, okay, and I like run in the house, run past my parents, like don't look at me, don't look at me, and I like get in the shower. And I'm like, oh my God, like this isn't helping. And like it felt so weird because I was so stoned and I felt like, oh my God, they're gonna know. But I just went to bed and it was fine. But then later my mom found out and she like literally thought I was a drug addict and like cried, thought my life was over, you know.
I found out later that both my parents did a lot of drugs. So, like when I was a kid, like I was like told, don't ever do this stuff. And then I got older and I'm like, huh, they've done it all. So, um, yeah. Well, we are doing a great job of shooting the shit.
What'd you
What
guys do for Valentine's Day?
we were gonna get pizza, but then we
Yum.
decided against that. We went to this place called Vegetation. It's like the only all vegan restaurant in Lakeland, and they make really amazing food. And it's like relatively healthy. Like, I mean, like the macros aren't the best for sure. Like the fat is higher, but it's all like very fresh. Probably some of it's organic. So we got like these. It's definitely not this, but like I'm gonna say a shepherd's pie. It's not a shepherd's pie, but it was some type of pie. We got
Was it a
nachos.
pot pie? Similar?
A Wellington. I think that's
Oh,
what
a
it's called.
Wellington. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a Wellington before in my life as a vegan or a pre-vegan. So I think that was my first Wellington ever. And then they make really good desserts. So we did that, and then we went for a walk. It was a relatively uneventful Valentine's Day, but I told her it was still the best one I've ever had, and I think that was true.
Oh.
Um, in fact, yeah. Oh, yeah. We just hit a year. That was it. Was kind of like Valentine's Day was a little bit smaller because the 12th, your birthday, was 1 year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we haven't even talked about your birthday. What'd you do for your birthday? I mean, we talked a little bit, but the
What did I
people
do
want to
for
know.
my birthday? Well, my actual birthday, it was such a gross, crappy day here. Like I really just wanted I really wanted to wake up, spend the day outside with my dog, and that just didn't happen. It rained almost all day and it was cold, it was gross. But I went over to my parents and I spent the day there. Me and my mom got pedicures. Um, let's see. What did we end up eating? Um, I think we went to this sushi place called Wasabi, and they have a bunch of different vegan sushi. It's not like a vegan place, but they have like a sweet potato roll, avocado roll, a lot of different things. So I like slammed some sushi, and my mom made these red velvet cupcakes, so we had that, and yeah, and Steve got me some clothes, some new gym shoes. So yeah, it was kind of low key. It was kind of low key, but that's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine with me.
yeah. I feel like as you get older, birthdays just become another day. I don't know. At least for me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was in New York for my last one. It was nice, but all right, all right. What else do we have to talk about? How's training going for you?
Training has been interesting. So I told you about my back issues,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which have actually gotten a lot better, but it's because I've really changed my training around a lot, and I have been seeing a chiropractor regularly and getting adjusted. And I do feel like my acupressure mat has helped tremendously. It gives me like short-term relief, but it's still something.
Yeah.
So I haven't done any spine loaded exercises in a really long time, and I haven't really done squats in a long time either. But one thing I was still doing with my training and kind of like pushing through the pain with deadlifts and good mornings. And I was doing those pretty much every week. And despite my love for deadlifts, I could do without good mornings, but I love deadlifts. I decided to just stop doing deadlifts. And my pain has gotten a lot better, a lot better. So I don't do any squats. I don't do any spine loaded movements. I don't do any deadlifts, any hyperextensions, anything that like I feel like, because before, and this is terrible, this is so bad, but like if I would feel pain on an exercise, I would just keep going. I would just still do it, honestly. Because I would like in my mind, I'm like, this is joint pain. This is not muscle pain. Like, I think I'm fine. I'm just gonna keep pushing. And now
That's backwards. That's like
I
you want
know,
your muscles to hurt. You don't want your joints to hurt.
I know. That's what I said. It's so bad. It's so bad. But uh and the other thing is it was like a dull pain, like it was like this achy pain. It wasn't like sharp shooting pain, like so I don't know. In my head, I guess I kind of justified it because I'm like, well, like I'm not really doing anything that bad. um and I would just push through it. But now if anything, just like hurts a little bit. Like even like I was doing leg raises and the leg raises hurt my back. So I just stopped doing it completely. And I only focus on exercises that don't give my low back any sort of issues. And I've been doing a lot better there. But yeah, I've really had to change my training. I mean, to be honest, I don't like my leg days as much. I used to love leg days. I just because I can't go as heavy, one thing, and I love training heavy and I like progressing. I just have to go way slower, focus on like tempo work, time under tension kind of training, and a lot of unilateral movements, isolation movements. So, I mean, I still get great pumps. It's still a good workout. It's still a great stimulus. I've kind of figured out my way now. It's just different.
Yeah.
I don't really do any big heavy lifts except for hip thrusts, which I'm really not even supposed to be doing those that much. But I do them on the Smith machine to kind of, like I feel like the problem I noticed with hip thrusts, if I can do it on either like the Booty Builder machine, I don't know if you guys have it, probably at MI40, or like the Smith machine, you can start a hip thrust at the top of the movement versus like when I was doing it with a barbell, I would have to get the weight up from the floor to full extension. And I noticed that's when my back started acting up. So I really only do it on the Smith machine because I can keep the range of motion really small.
Yeah, that makes sense. I tell like clients or friends or whoever wants to listen, like for RDLs or things like that, like if it's easier for you to get set up with the bar off the ground, why not? Like, so makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, actually interesting that you brought up MI40. I've paused my membership there. Because now that I'm in Lakeland, it's like at least an hour drive to get there, like without traffic. And I'm still training, and I'm actually like the biggest I've ever been, but I feel like this internal conflict of what I want to do with like competing and what I want to do with trying to make the world a better place. And I really feel like, at least in the near future, like in the next year, contest prep would just really take away from what I'm able to offer in other areas. So still training, and Allie and I were actually talking about that yesterday or the day before. Like, we're only going to be here another 2 weeks, and then we're going to be on the road for probably like 2 to 3 months. Actually, I don't know if you're coming or not. I'm assuming you might be, but in May, Veg is going to have their meetup in LA. So that'll probably be, yeah, sweet. Okay, cool. Well, I know Natalie, and I guess I know Brian a little bit. I had my second call. I had a call with Nimai. I guess I could say this here. I might be helping run their YouTube channel. So that's like an additional role that I've worked my way into.
I didn't even realize they had a YouTube channel. I guess that's why they're working on it. Yeah.
They had like that survey for the athletes, like they're like, do you have any other feedback? And I was like, hey, it's me. Put me on the YouTube channel. Put me in, coach. Let me help out, because yeah, I feel like that's a big opportunity for them, and they're not doing anything with it right now. So I might do some like cooking videos. But all that to say, once we come back, we're like starting to think like, where are we going to be? And we don't really know. So we've been training at Crunch, and I'm like, I don't mind Crunch, but also I wouldn't mind an actual bodybuilding gym. Somewhere that's a little bit slower, because it's just, even at this one, it's like at like 3 p.m. it's filled with high school students, and at 5 p.m. it's filled with adults. So
they're all like that. They're all like that. It's crazy. Every single Crunch I've been to is packed all the time.
Yeah. And I'm me. So at MI40, I stand out because of my hair, but at Crunch, I stand out for everything. So I can't really escape much. Though I will say, I told Allie, I'm like, there's nothing in Lakeland. It's a small little city. There's nothing for me here. But like, this little 15-year-old kid came up. He's like, oh, I know you. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, Instagram? He's like, no, I don't have that. I just found you online. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Cool. He's like, yeah, I'm 15. I'm plant-based. And like, I figured I could try to grow some muscle as a plant-based lifter if I watch some of the stuff you do. And I was like, that's really cool, because my experience at 15 being vegan, walking into a gym, was being told you'll never build any muscle. And so it's like cool that I can kind of hopefully inspire some people to do stuff. But like, I've now taken it upon myself really this year, maybe the last year and a half, like whenever I started to get interested with One to Save Many, um, I feel like I've had this voice inside of me that's been called to be more of an activist. And so when people ask me about being vegan, I start to open up a bit more and maybe press some questions and see where people are coming from, and try and ask them the questions that if I was able to ask my like 12-year-old self, maybe at 12 I would have gone vegan instead of at 13. Like what would it take for that to happen? So I'm in the sauna, and like one kid asked if I'm vegan, and I said yeah, and he's like mind blown. So I start talking to him a little bit about like what I eat, and then I was trying to get more into the ethics, and I was like, well, have you killed any animals yourself? He's like, no, never. I was like, well, how do you think you would feel if you had to kill an animal yourself? He's like, oh, I don't know. And like, I was expecting him to say he'd feel bad, and then I was gonna go into the argument of, well, if you would feel bad, I mean, think about the person that when you buy meat, you're literally paying for somebody to go kill a bunch of animals every day. Like, how do you think they feel? And like, try and work my way in there. But then this dude in the corner of the sauna is like, it feels pretty good. And I'm like, it feels pretty good to kill animals? He's like, yeah, yep, feels pretty good actually. To know you're supporting a small business or feeding a family, it feels good to kill animals. And I'm just like, oh gosh, this was not the answer I was expecting or prepared for. So I tried to pivot, and I was like, well, tell me about it. Like, when have you killed animals? When did it feel good? He's like, well, I was in Alaska and I got to help kill this moose, and it fed a whole family. I was like, all right. Personally, I don't agree with this, but hey man, if that makes you happy and you're able to feed a family and all that, like that's great. Unfortunately, this won't work for the rest of the world. Like, we don't have enough animals to kill to do that. Like, we have to supply the meat the way it is. We have to have factory farming. And I can't get behind a factory farm. Like, I can't imagine that even killing that moose, it's a little bit of pain at once, but putting these animals in cages their whole lives and then killing them, it can't feel good. He's like, actually, you remind me of a trip that I took where I was a commercial, like I helped with commercial fishing for like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh. He's like, yeah, like we had to fish for tuna, but with tuna you have to kill them one by one. Like, you have to like slam their head on the boat or stab them, and you got to kill them one by one. I was like, oh. And he's like, yeah, I came in like hot shit. Like, I knew I could do whatever it took. But after 9 hours of getting covered in blood and killing hundreds of fish, I didn't feel so good. It's like, we're having a therapy session in the sauna in front of like 8 other people. This dude's talking about how he's covered in blood and killed a few hundred fish on the first day. And so he's like, actually, now you make me think about it. It didn't feel that good to kill those animals. I was like, all right, we're getting somewhere. But that was just like, that's now like a typical day for me. I don't intend to get in these conversations, but I also don't shy away from them anymore. So I don't know how we got here, but that was just something that happened at Crunch like 2 days ago. So yeah, Crunch.
That's funny. Yeah, Crunch is interesting. You're gonna get lots of different people there. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of carnivore people there, because I feel like Crunch is kind of, well, it's so, I think it's so cheap that you're gonna get so many different people there, versus like MI40, really expensive. You're gonna really cut back on the type of people who show up. It's only gonna be people who, because what is it, like it's $200, something like that, right? Or
it's almost $200 a month, and there's a 6-month waiting list.
yeah, so like you're gonna be pretty damn committed and serious about showing up to the gym if you sign up there. You're not just gonna be like one of those people who signs up and pays for it every month and never goes. But I feel like that's Crunch. Like people are like, oh my God, $20 a month. Like people spend that on coffee, on like all sorts of things. So yeah, you get a lot of different people. And I feel like right now, like I have a friend, one of my best friends from high school, she's trying to lose weight. So she's doing carnivore right now. And I asked her, I'm like, She's like, actually, she's like, I wanted to tell you, but I didn't want you to be mad at me, but I've been doing carnivore and I've lost 15 pounds. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you lost 15 pounds, but like, why are you doing carnivore? Are you only doing it to lose weight? She's like, yeah, pretty much. Like, you know, if you cut out carbs, you lose weight. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's unfortunate because there's so many better ways to lose weight. And eventually you're going to need to eat a carb. And I mean, she was complaining about how terrible the shits were, you know, the first 2 weeks and all of the crazy side effects that come with it. And I'm like, it's like, you're not going to be able to do this forever. You're not going to be able to keep this weight off. Like, you might as well do something that's sustainable. But it's just one of those things, you know, it's like the trend right now. People will do anything to lose weight.
A dude came up and had a 5-minute conversation with me about being vegan, and then he ended it with, well, I've been carnivore for 3 months now. You should really try it. Like, you should, like, I'm dead serious. You should give up everything you're doing now and go carnivore. And I'm like, do you not see my head? Like, I can't just, I'm in this 19 years. I'm not going to give it up for that. And I don't know. I think people, it's just the same it's always been. People want an easy, simple solution versus a lifestyle change. It's harder to change your lifestyle. It's harder to actually be present and mindful about what you're eating and set an intention and learn some basic nutrition and then apply it. I mean, yeah, like, I don't know what your life expectancy would be without eating vegetables and fruit and going on a carnivore diet. I mean, I know that one of the main guys that did it ended up in the hospital, and anywho, yeah, go vegan for all of the reasons. Well, what else? What else have we got?
So, you brought up something interesting that I wanted to talk about. You were talking about how you don't feel like contest prep in the next year is kind of conducive to your lifestyle. And you know, I really wanted to prep this year, and that's something I'm struggling with right now. But it's not even really like my lifestyle because I feel like I have the time, and I feel like you know, I don't go to a lot of like the food events. I don't go to as many as you do. There's just not that many here in Atlanta. So really it's not like that would be an issue. And I'm not doing a ton of traveling. Like it really doesn't have anything to do with that. I'll just be totally honest. It's like more so my mindset. Here's the thing. My last prep, I was coming out of a really bad relationship. I moved home. I had no one here. And I was still finding myself and I'm still healing. And it's just prepping when you're happy is just different. Like prepping when you have a lot going for you. Like, you know, I have a great business, I have all these projects I can work on. My relationship is pretty good. I have a lot of friends now. Like, you know, it's so different. And it's like, I would be giving up a lot, I feel like, to go into a prep. And I've really been enjoying food lately. And like I can maintain like the low 160s, like going out every weekend and eating pizza and like having some chips here and there and not being super restrictive, which has been nice. It's something I've never been able to do. And so I don't know. I'm having a really hard time getting myself motivated to prep, but then at the same time, so I'm curious what your experience was like, especially this last prep. I feel like it was different than your previous ones. Like you had a bigger following, you had a bigger social media presence. Cause I mean, truthfully, I did make the most money I ever made when I was competing. My content did amazing. People were super excited about it. People loved seeing me lean. And it was just like a cool thing for people to watch and like cheer me on and, you know, represent the vegan community. And I feel like, yes, I can do that in other ways, but damn, competing is just so good for our business and what we do. And especially, I feel like for me and you being an NPC, and being in a really competitive federation, like, you know, I'll see people who compete in OCB and I saw like in FMG, you know, all these different federations, and like that's great. I do, yes, it's still hard. But it's just not quite as competitive as NPC. Like, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You're an NPC, so you get it. So I don't know, but I'm curious for you, what was your response like when you were competing? Like people seeing all of the pictures of you lean, and like how well did your content do, and your engagement and your business? Like, did you notice a difference when you were competing versus not?
So this is a very multi-layered thing. I have a couple preps that I can, well, actually, I prepped in 2014, I prepped in 2021, and in 2023. And 2014 was what started my account. So like I didn't even post, I don't think, from like 2015 to 2019, but like I had created my account to document my journey. What I will say, I want to make a note for this. People love stories. And I think that unless you have a big enough overarching theme, then competing is your story. So like at least in 2021 for me, I think 2022 for you, 2023 for me, 19 weeks out, 18 weeks out, 7, like people, the anticipation's building. People are like, oh, he's 16 weeks out. I'll follow him. I want to see where this goes. So I think from a social media perspective, if we're trying to drive that same growth and development, you need to have some other story to tell the people. So I feel like I should probably pivot right now and be like, road trip, Arizona adventure, and like vlog that and promote that. And then there'll be a story for people to follow, just like, oh, this is what this dude ate today. It's so having competing as kind of, I mean, it just does that for you. You're a certain number of weeks out, there's a change happening. People can get on board. Also, Instagram and the rest of the world is extremely visually oriented. So as you're getting leaner, I think your content is going to typically do better just because you are leaner. And there's just people that love that. So for me, like in 2023, I feel like social media did well, but not just because I was competing. I was out a really high prestigious gym, networking with as many other bodybuilders as I could. I hired a really good prep coach. I hired a really good posing coach, a really good in-person trainer. So I made a lot of connections through it that, like, if I was just mostly training at like my home gym and kind of kept things more to myself, wouldn't have been as apparent. So yeah, I mean, I do think, I mean, you and I also have this as well. There's not many other vegans competing in the NPC at a high level for other people to really pull inspiration from. So it further niched us down, I think. So all of those factors go into this. However, I do think, given the right circumstances, you could get the same growth, engagement, as far as like even with your business. You just got to find the right path. And what I found for me, funny enough, I feel like I've lucked into this recently. Like this is in the last month. I've started making more activism style posts. I was filming for a leg day video, and I was training with Alex Nearest, and he can't do hack squats. So I was like, all right, we'll do Smith squats. And I hadn't Smith squatted in a while. And we put 5 plates on there, and I get to like 12 reps in, and the video is going to be live on YouTube soon, probably by the time this goes up. And I just start like screaming, like I don't like yelling, like really got into that set for whatever reason. And then like I went for like the 13th rep, and like I had just seen a pretty graphic video of a cow being killed, and like that flashed into my eyes. And then I went for the 14th rep, and I'm not even going to mention what I saw in this video, but I saw something really messed up with like animal abuse, and that popped into my eyes. And then on the 15th rep, something else, and it's like it pushed me forward. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a reel from that set, and on every rep, there's going to be a quick half-second, animal activism, the abuse of animal style image. And this post isn't going to do well. It's not going to perform well, but it's going to mean something to me. And maybe it gets one person to think differently about animal agriculture and what we do with factory farming. And that was my best performing post that month. And like I put it up thinking it was going to be not good, and I was just doing it just to do the right thing and do it for me, and it did really well. So then I made another post about my speech when I was on stage, talking about how we can be kind, we can be compassionate, we can step up for animals, men can give hugs and cry in public, and it's all okay. That post did really well. And so now I'm realizing my last 4 posts that have done the best in the last month have all been animal activism related. I think they get shared. I think people pulls on their heartstrings. So what I'm realizing is like it used to be like some of my contest posts that would do really well. So now I'm finding there's other avenues, and for me at least, it was following my heart that allowed me to find what's going to do the best. So all that to say, there's different games we can play on social media. I think whatever lights you up the most and gets you excited will probably be what your base also gets excited about too. So whether
Yeah.
that's competing or with you, I mean, your best post to my knowledge ever was with Chief, and like you love Chief. Like I'm not saying you need to make a dog page, but like that was something important to you, and it resonated with the people that follow you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always just interesting. And I will say, I guess I do show up differently in social media when I'm in contest prep. I think that's a big part of it too, because I feel like I probably talk to the camera more. I probably show up live because I just am confident. I feel better. I'm working towards something. I'm excited about it too. So, and like you, I when I was competing, I would collaborate with people more, vegan or not. I met other competitors, other people who were in the space. So, yeah, it's just I think part of it is I just also move differently on social media when I'm competing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really wanted to do it this year, and maybe I still will. I'm just like I'm just having a really hard time with the intentional suffering. Like I just don't really want to suffer and be hungry right now, you know?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I worked with Dr. Louis Ordaz, a um, behavioral therapist, and he works specifically with bodybuilders with eating disorders. And like, I worked with him, and that helped a lot. But I think what helped the most actually was taking a break from my coach. Like, I had been underneath 2 coaches consecutively for 5 years without a break. Somebody was looking at my photos, somebody was telling me my macros or my meal plan, and somebody was expecting me to check in every week for the last 5 years. And it's now been about 2 months that I've been off from that. I haven't taken a single check-in photo. I don't even know what I really truly look like because I haven't stopped to do it. I'm still mostly tracking my food. I still weigh myself every day. I still show up to the gym 5 days a week. But if I want one of Allie's apples and it's not on my meal plan, I'll eat it. And I've found that allowing myself to have that little bit of freedom has really, really helped my mindset around food. I'm not in such a scarcity mindset where I have to binge every time I go off plan. I haven't gotten like super fat or anything by just eating a little bit extra some days. I probably could just raise my total calories, but it's like every day I snack on 1 to 200 calories and I just don't even track it. It's like a little bit extra on top. It's not that big of a deal. And I'm not saying everybody should go do this. I'm just saying if you've done something for 5 years and it's created bad habits, maybe take a step back and then that'll help you take a step forward. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like I feel the healthiest around food that I've felt in years. And I almost feel like now I could go in more towards a prep if I wanted to. I'm just not called to it. And so like for you, having this period right now to have a little bit of flexibility, like you said, enjoy food, not go binge eat because it's a free meal, but like I enjoy sushi with my significant other, or I really want some protein pretzels before bed, but not binging. I think would set you up in a good place to where you can choose to go into that prep. Like for me, now that I've had these couple months of chillness, prep doesn't sound so scary and horrible. Whereas like 2 months ago, I was still like scared to prep, like
Yeah.
fear. Now it would be almost like a choice. Like I'm choosing to give up all these foods that I've been enjoying to go for a bigger goal. But like, yeah, like you said, like I'm on the road so much. I try to promote for so many businesses. I'm always trying foods, and like now it's like I get sent so much stuff in the mail. It's like I'm trying to do like 5 different snacks in one video just to try and promote these vegan businesses because I can't make 5 separate videos every time. But um Yeah, this sport's just so extreme. Like, I will
Yeah.
guide people through competing if that's what they want, but I won't tell anyone to compete ever. I have a client, shout out if she's listening. She knows who she is. She could compete if she wants to. I actually thought she was a competitor when she signed out. That's how much muscle she has and how she looks. And she's like, "Oh, I've kind of thought about it, kind of not." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'm not gonna. I would, even though you could do well. I'm never gonna push you into this because it's not something anybody should do unless they really, really want to."
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah. And I feel like now that I finally have some balance, it's just like I'm not really ready to give it up yet, you know?
Yeah.
Like I guess like my choice, I could choose to do a prep, but right now I'm like leaning to just choosing to have like a flexible lifestyle, maybe be a little bit fluffier and I don't know, just enjoy food for a little bit.
And I think too, like people like me and you that take multiple years for off seasons. At least that's historically how we've done it. Like I didn't compete in 2022. You competed in 2022, but now you're going to take at least until 2025 off. I think it makes things more extreme. Whereas like people like Tori Washington, to the best of my knowledge, she competes just about every year. Corinne competes just about every year. Um, so I think maybe by having in their cases, like I don't want to say they have a more relaxed approach, but it's almost like they compete so frequently that maybe they don't go as like all or nothing. Like maybe 10 weeks out, they would have an extra cheat meal if they wanted to. I don't know. I guess it's something to ask them about. But like, I feel like they just seem more comfortable in that lifestyle.
Yeah, and I do think there are people who like genetically they can just prep all the time. Like I don't know if you know Ashley Caldswater, but I feel like she competes all year, every year for the past 10 years.
Wow.
And like it's just how I mean that's just how she is, but I feel like genetically she's a very tiny, lean person and it just works for her lifestyle. And like I know Laura Lee, who just won the Olympia last year, like there was this Reddit, I'm in this Reddit bikini talk, and everybody was just acting like, oh my God, it's so crazy how she leans down so fast. Like she only really needs like a 10-week prep. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you listen to her podcast, like she doesn't do any cardio in her off season. Like
Wow.
none. So imagine if you don't do any cardio in off season and then all of a sudden you add in 20 minutes of fasted cardio and then you add in 45 minutes of, like you're gonna drop like crazy. So there are some people who can just, live like that based off their lifestyle, their genetics. I'm not like that. Like I'm always doing cardio, like I have to do cardio, but also like mental health. I don't like giving up cardio. And I
Well, for
also don't
big,
have huge calories like in the off season. Like that's just not my body. Like I can't eat. Like I have a client who she's super lean, super shredded. She eats like 2,700 calories in her off season. And like I can't do that. Like the most I can do is like 2,200. I mean, maybe if I took time to like reverse, I could get there, but I do feel like there are some people, and that's like the genetic freaks. Those are the people who are at the top. Those are the people who are that at the O because they can do this all year, and it doesn't take as much for them to get that physique as it does for me and you to get there.
yeah. Oh, genetics. I mean, genetics definitely play a huge part.
Yeah.
We made me think of, you remember Greta? We had her on. Um,
Yes.
I remember being in prep and like, I was on like 2,400 calories on training days, like 2,000 on off days. And I'm sitting there writing her plan and she's on 4,400 calories on training days. I'm like, I weigh over 100 pounds more than you, and you're eating more than twice as much food as me. How does this make sense? But
Crazy.
yeah, we were able to really. I mean, I, she just stopped gaining weight, so like I just had to keep feeding her, and she still stalled out for a long time. Like we worked her up from like 3,300 to 4,500 calories before she finally started to actually put on weight again. So yeah, but all right. Well, I think we have done a phenomenal job of shooting the shit. I mean, it's needed
I
to
think so
happen. This
too.
was like not a whole lot different than like a typical phone call. Nobody phone calls anymore. It's it's not like a decade ago, you know?
I know.
It's the world's changing. Well, start a podcast. Talk to your best friend there. But all right. I don't have anything else. I think we've done everything well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Best vegan podcast you've ever listened to. If you guys help us out and share this with one friend, that would be phenomenal so that we can keep doing this, trying to grow. Actually, last month was our best month ever, so I want to try and keep beating that. This has been another episode of the Vegans Who Live podcast brought to you by your favorite vegans. We will see you next time.